We are finally coming to the end of 2025. What a full and crazy year it's been. Every year I push myself harder and harder. After a life altering event when I was young, I promised myself I would learn and experience as much as I could. But this year has finally made me realize that I'm not 25 anymore. Well, at least not my body. My brain is signing checks the rest of me can't cash. This is my new reality. Life was difficult enough back in the 80s being a Chinese immigrant family in Canada. Don't kid yourselves, racism runs through the blood veins of every country. The only way to survive or belong was to join the local Chinese community. Unfortunately, 99% of the Asians in our community were wealthy, i.e., doctors, surgeons, accountants, business people, and of course, the old fashioned way family wealth. My father was a studio engineer and we followed wherever his job took us. We moved a lot, as you can guess. It wasn't a high paying job back in those days, but it was a prestigious one. When an opportunity came up in Canada, my dad sold everything we had, which wasn't much. Bought one way plane tickets for all of us, and we flew across the world for his new job and hopefully a better education for the kids. We landed in Canada with only about $200. It was a risk, but a risk worth taking. Long story short, a Chinese family with an empty wallet was strike one in this community. Even at 8 years old, I often catch other families whispering, staring, giggling, and even sometimes blatantly pointing at us at events. Over the years, it took a toll on my mother as she has become quite a social butterfly within the community and thought she deserved a better, richer life. So she decided to leave my father after 28 years of marriage. That day, I lost faith in the sanctity of marriage, and at the same time, our family was shunned from the Chinese community because divorce was taboo back in those days. This was strike two. Divorce was not part of the vocabulary for the traditional Chinese. It's a sign of failure and embarrassment. It's a big no no. Status always overruled. So, in the end, my mother made it worse for herself and us. I have, over the years, become a firm believer in karma. Our family for years became a talk, well, more like a joke in the city. It was so humiliating that my mother and father ended up moving to a different province. A deep down hatred began to boil in me for all the rich Chinese in the community that put my family in this position. I stayed because I refused to be bullied. This was not their city, and they will never push me out. The city that I love, grew up in, and raised my kids in. Go ahead, laugh at me. I'll laugh harder back. I've been on my own since I was about 16 because when my parents separated, my brothers and I were basically kicked out of the house. So I got the independence backhand lesson pretty quick. Even back in my country, my mother was abusive physically, more so mentally. I sometimes think the movie Joy Luck Club was secretly about our family, not the one they claimed. My dad was a strong, almost too scary silent type, but he always treated me like a son and never laid a hand on us. Unfortunately, my mother's cruel and vindictive ways managed to convince all of her boys that it was all dad's fault and he was the evil one. All of us fell under her spell and eventually ended up ignoring my father for years. This will be the regret that will haunt me until my last breath, especially now. 35 years. That's how long it took for me to get here. Hear what, you might ask? The freedom and peace of the ride. When I was younger, I had a friend who used to race motocross and was nice enough to take me in under his wing and teach me how to ride. We spent countless hours on trails and tracks. I had found my first love, these darn two-wheel things. The plan was to get my motorcycle license and eventually a motorbike after. Well, life didn't always work out the way I wanted. My proud independence got in the way with silly things like rent, groceries, utilities, insurance, gas, etc., etc. When you're 18 and working 2 to 3 shitty jobs at a time, there's not much freedom when it comes to hobbies. I watched my dreams slowly disintegrate. Oh well, life goes on. Fast forward my life 34 years later. Unlike the rest of my brothers, I missed the opportunity to get a proper education, so career choices were slim. The path I took was not easy, but the experience I gained was priceless. I somehow managed to pull it off with a loving wife, 3 amazing kids, an early retirement, and lots of traveling. We both worked our asses off for decades to reach financial stability, but there was always a small void in me. I would say more like an itch. One of the promises I made my wife when we got married was not to get a motorcycle license and motorbike because she didn't like them and was totally against it. In May of this year, when we were in Thailand, One of the most suggested things to do while on a particular island was to rent a scooter and beach hop the entire island all day. We had one of the best times of our lives that day, and I think even my wife enjoyed being on a scooter. I think it was probably more like she was thankful she survived with me at the handlebars. At the end of that perfect day, I turned to my wife and apologized to her that I will have to break my 35-year promise. Time served, I said. I think she understood, because here I am. She needs to understand that riding is a form of therapy for me. It's a gap of time where I can leave all the past shit behind me at 100 kilometers an hour. It's not the same as being in a car. One of those hard to explain things. I suspect my wife will never understand, but that's okay. It's for me, not her. Coolest thing about riding is that you are not restricted to a certain age. I've met 16 to 85-year-old riders. Yeah, of course it's dangerous, but so is everything we do daily and all my activities like scuba diving, bow hunting, hanging off a tree, mountain biking, skiing, or simply scratching my leg. I'll circle back to that one later. I've been taking some time off social media to reflect on this year and prepping for 2026. God, I hope it's going to be a better year. But from the looks of things to come, the start of 2026 might be gruesome. At the end of 2024, my father in his late 80s was diagnosed with prostate cancer, which last spring we found out that the cancer has spread to his bones. This is never a good thing, especially at the age when chemotherapy is no longer an option. On top of that, he also suffers from dementia, bad enough that my last visit to see him in March, he didn't even recognize or remember me. It was truly sad. Honestly, what we did to him in the past, I don't really blame him at all. Maybe it's the best this way, but he's still my father and I'll always remember. About a month ago, I got a call from my oldest brother, who has been really the only person talking to my mother because over the years, she has managed to isolate herself from pretty much everyone, especially her own family. What she doesn't realize is that her mind games doesn't work on us anymore. We are older and wiser and finally immune to her spell. Result of that, most of us haven't spoken to her for many years. I've been informed that she has uterine cancer and will be going into surgery. At this point, it's a waiting game. I'm afraid the next time I see either one of them, it's probably going to be a funeral. You know when you're in control sometimes, but you feel out of control? It's the weirdest feeling. I know I stand firm with my decisions that I've made when it comes to my parents, but I'm at the same time confused at what I'm supposed to do now. I've grown accustomed to hating my parents for years for what they did to me, my brothers, to my kids, and most of all to our family. But I've come to terms with all the cards dealt to me. The real question is, will I ever forgive them? Can I forgive them? After all, without them, I probably wouldn't have my amazing kids today, and I have to keep reminding myself constantly that they are still my mother and my father. This numb feeling that I have has been the result of years of training, discipline, tolerance, and I fear this wall will never come down. Okay, now the scratch in the leg comment. I told you guys I would circle back around this. I will close this chapter with this little doozy. About a week ago, I got sick. The usual flu like symptoms, so it wasn't anything new. Usually, I just take over the counter meds and brush it off. Duke it out like a macho man. Not this time. On the second day, I noticed a red patch in my inner thigh area. It was sore and hot to the touch. Thought maybe I had somehow scraped it. I was moving snow tires into my wife's car that day. Maybe it was that. But when the third day rolled in, so did the swelling and bruising on my right leg just above the ankles. Okay, this is definitely not the flu. Thank God my family doctor got me within an hour. The moment my doctor saw my leg, she immediately sent me to emergency at the nearby hospital. I was admitted pretty quickly due to the severity of the swelling and bruising. At least my vitals were normal, so they sent me off to do blood work right away. Half an hour later, I was admitted to one of the ER doctor's room. The doctor entered the room with my results and diagnosed me with severe cellulitis, a type of skin tissue infection which can be caused from a simple cut, wound, scrape, bite, or even a scratch. In my case, probably caused by me scratching due to dry skin because there were visible scratch marks near the bruising area. Cellulitis, if not treated right away, will likely turn into blood infection. That's even more severe. Both of these conditions, if not treated on time, can cause death. I was put on immediate IV antibiotics, then back tomorrow for a second IV treatment and a nice little chat with a cellular specialist to discuss my curing process. The IV needle stays in my arm and 6 more days of self-induced in-home IV antibiotics. I will be trained by a nurse on how to do this myself on day one. After 6 days of IV, I have a follow-up appointment with a specialist again to determine if the infection is at the stage where I can stop the antibiotics. and also an inspection of any skin tissue damage on my leg. So the grumpy look behind the helmet in this video is because had a swollen right leg and an IV needle still on my arm, but I can still ride. Priorities, right? The moral of this story is, many severe illnesses have flu-like symptoms and your body will likely tell you that. But if not, don't try to be a hero or a macho idiot like me. If I caught this even a day earlier, most of this could have been prevented and I would have been far away from the red zone. I now have to keep reminding myself that my mind might still be 25, but my body is not anymore, and this recovery will be a long one. This is the second time in my life I've brushed the sleeve of death. Life is kind of like a puzzle. You start with one corner and build it one piece at a time. And what doesn't fit now will eventually fit later on because every single piece plays a part and is needed to finish the puzzle. I just hope I get to live long enough to finish mine. Find your passion and don't let go. Every minute is precious because we really are living on borrowed time. Thank you all for your past and continuing support. Stay safe, take good care of yourself, and most of all, stay grounded. And we'll see you all on the flip side. Ciao for now.
I feel alright, everything's gonna be okay. Waking up with a smile, my heart full of day. The sun is shining down, the sky is so blue. I'm feeling the joy, cause my soul's been renewed. All my stresses have been left behind. Dancing in the light, leaving them all behind. Every worry, every doubt, they fade away. I'm catching the rhythm, living life my own